Story number one. So, this happened back in 2016. In 2016, I was living in this apartment complex. Imagine a big house divided in four. So, two apartments on the bottom, two on the upper floor. I used to live in the, let's call it, down left quadrant. And basically, next to us, there was a big house that it was from the sister of the owner of the house that we live on. It looks like that house was from her parents. Her mom died inside the house, and her father was pretty much in a mental institution because he had Alzheimer's. Anyways, in this case, what happened is that this house, it was very strange. You could enter, you could feel the air was pretty much missing when you enter the place where I was living. And we had a neighbor on the upper side called Richard. Richard told us that he has been living there for what, 10 years or so? So basically, he knew a lot of people that passed by there, upper and bottom. But he told us something very interesting that, well, first of all, that the house next door, it was where the owner of the house mother died. He also told us that there was this guy from the US that lived here that pretty much killed himself in the house that he was either diagonally or upper than us, and that really freaked him out. So basically, Richard, after 2 years that we were living there, left the house. He told us, I got a new house, I got a new opportunity, I got a mortgage in a good price. I was saving all my life for this opportunity. I think he was in his mid 40s. And he said, I'm gonna go living in another city. He left the upper floor empty. And I swear to you, this floor on the upper section empty, you could hear people moving furniture. You know the type of moving that it happens when you're moving couches, chairs, tables, desk, that you can sometimes hear the floor screech with the friction of the furniture. You can probably picture it if you ever move. Basically, that was the sound that came over and over and over. And I asked my mom, hey, that upper section, it's free, right? And she said, yeah, we still have our for rent outside. And, the owner of the house, or in case of the apartments, used to show up people the empty department. But we hear every maybe midday and night somebody moving furniture, and the upper section was completely empty. So that makes me wonder, was was uh was that something that we were imagining because Richard told us that somebody killed himself up there, or was there something really up there? Maybe, I don't know, the trap ghost of that person that killed himself. I will never know, but I can tell you the feeling when those sounds of the imaginary furniture was there was very creepy, to the point that I would stop doing what I was doing, or stop eating lunch and just look up while everything was moving, and my mom will tell me, wow, there's really ghostly activity going on here. But you will send that shiver on your skin. You will feel like, wow, there's something really, really strange. And it makes me wonder, is it the ghost of that person, or is it something else? And I will never know, because when I move up very close to that house, not next to it, but close to that house, you can see people not staying for more than 3 months. They always go there, live for a few months, and they leave. Maybe it's problems with the house, or maybe there's something else. But you don't see people staying more than 3 or 6 months. And if you have moved places, you know how expensive and annoying that is. So I will never know what exactly happened on that place. But I'm sure never going back to it. Story number two. So as I was saying, in that place that I live in 2016, the house next to it, that it's the owner's father's house. Her mom died there, right? She actually died inside the house. I don't know the exact cause of the death, but anyways, I met this girl at work called Rose, and she told me that her cousin used to see a woman in a nightgown on the kitchen, but from the outside, because the kitchen was facing, let's say, the outside. You could see the kitchen if you leave the curtains open. So she will tell me, you know, if somebody died in that house, and I was like, wow, I really have to tell her. And I was like, yeah, the mother of the owner died in that house, and she was like, well, I see an elder lady sometimes when I visit my cousin here, and you can see her outside. Honestly, I never saw that ghostly apparition in a nightgown. But the weird thing is that after Rose's cousin left, there was another woman. Let's call her Bernadette. I didn't know her personally, but I started jogging, let's say in 2018, 2017, because I wanted to do some workout. So I started jogging around the block, around, I think it was 5 or 4 p.m. that I had time. And I was jogging just around the block and, going up and down, going up and down. Picture a U form street, like a block in a U shape, and the middle is filled with houses. The other U is filled with houses, and the U shape, it's where the cars go up and down, right? So basically, the house that I currently live is not on the very top of the U. It's like on the middle. And this house where I used to live is right on the U section where it's about to loop. So I was running there, and I noticed well, let's say a middle-aged woman outside of the house of the owner that I used to live, and she says, "Hey, young man," and you don't talk to strangers, but she didn't look menacing. You get that gut feeling when something is wrong. Anyway, she said, "Hey, young man," and I was like, "Hey." She said, "Can I ask you something?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." She said, "Well, do you know? Have you lived here for a long time?" I was like, "Well, let me check. Maybe since 2012 or 2011. I don't remember. 2010." But I told her I used to live next to your house, in those apartments. And she said, "Oh, okay. And when do you move?" I was like, "Oh, I moved to a house that it's like 3 houses away from yours, maybe in 2017, 2018. I don't remember." And she was like, can I ask you something really weird?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." She said, "Do you know if somebody died here?" And I was like, "Why?" She said, "I see an elderly woman with a nightgown whenever I'm going to open the front door. I see an elderly woman just standing on the kitchen. And when I enter in the kitchen, there's nobody." And I told her, has somebody else seen it besides you?" She said, "Yes, my husband, my children. We don't know. We are really scared." But she doesn't feel menacing. She looks really sad. And I tell her the story, like how the owner's mother died there. And she said, "Oh, okay. Yeah, anyways, we're leaving because this house has a lot of, electrical problems, water problems, you name it." And she said, "That's just the last straw. And basically, I'm out of here. I don't want to know anything more about this place. I'm really, really scared." Anyways, that was another story that proves that not only a person that didn't know anything about that story saw the same thing without anybody telling her anything. She was so concerned that she was just standing outside because she was so scared, looking for somebody to talk to, asking them if somebody have seen that woman on the nightgown. L- Today I actually passed by the house, but the curtains were closed. But it makes me wonder, is that woman still trapped there? Is it massive hysteria that everybody's imagining the same things? Or there's something more evil on that house that everybody sees, but nobody seems to know exactly what it is. Story number three. So this happened on the apartment complex that I mentioned on story number one. And well, my mom has some friends in South America, and she doesn't live in. She hasn't lived in South America for more than what, 30, 40 years. And she was friends with this guy that at some point had a lot of money but lost it all. He invested here in my country, then lost it all. And he invested a lot in Peru. But there's this, let's say, mafia that when you have a big terrain and you don't make any construction on it, they take over it. Some people falsify records with, the judges and say, oh, this terrain is mine. And basically, he lost everything. But my mom told me this guy used to be worth millions of dollars, not even hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. And I'm talking to you about maybe the 80s or 70s. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. And basically, one day we were like having lunch in that apartment complex that I told you about. And basically, on that apartment complex, we are just eating lunch or dinner, I don't remember. And my mom just, freeze and just look at something. And I want you to picture the table, a very small plastic table that we used to eat because, we didn't have a lot of money back in the day. It's not that we're rich now, but we're doing much better than before. Anyways, um, we were having lunch and I was just eating and eating because I was, really tired, just wanted to go to bed. And I noticed my mom is looking at something and after like 10 minutes I'm like, "What are you looking at?" She looks at me and says nothing. And I look back, I say nothing. And she tells me later, she said, "I saw a very big shadow, but like a huge shadow that will touch the roof. And it is so big that it's like," she said, "it's like an entity that you see that is so big that it's his neck or part of his spine is going like to another way because it's trying to fit the massive body it had, but it didn't have an actual big shape." And I was like, wow, that's really scary. So I'm glad I didn't see it. My mom tells me that's not a good sign. And I tell her why. She said, well, if you see shadows like that, so big and so ominous, and that feeling of that is taking your breath, I think that's something bad. I told my mom, like, what? And she said, I don't know. Maybe something bad will happen to somebody. Well, she is, I don't know, minding her business. And the next day she receives a call. And that guy that I told you about, that he was quote unquote a millionaire, recently has passed away. So I told my mom, maybe that was him. And she said, maybe that was him, or maybe it was a sign that something was going to happen to him because she said, lately I've been thinking about him and all the money he had and where all that went. And all of a sudden, my mom gets a call that he died. I remember it was from a heart attack. And my mom is always scared. Whenever she sees shadows or anything that is not normal, it's a sign that something is going to happen. Or if it's a sign that somebody that she cares about or somebody that is trying to say hello, or maybe it's something more evil. I'll never know.